Hello, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Toast Wig? Good to see you. Namaste, Cheng. Welcome to the live stream. Toastwig saying, weird day. Weird, huh? I'm good. Really good. Just being present and excited to gather together and meditate and discuss. It's always nice to be part of a community. But why is your day so weird? These look cool. The overlay I've got. Thank you, Boogeyman. Welcome to the stream. Just so you guys know, I have no idea when someone enters or leaves. I don't really know how many people are watching, so I'm just going to give it a few minutes, and then we'll do a group meditation. Toast Wig. Old narratives are strong today. Yeah. I understand that. I feel you. Sometimes they can crop up in a more pronounced way on the path. But as long as we stay focused on the letting go, the surrender, and attempting to be equanimous, then we can make it through. And then the next day is hopefully much better. Cheng is asking, have you ever seen the movie Waking Life? I don't think I have. I can look that up. Is it a spiritual movie, or does it align with what we do, or is it just a cool movie? It says it's a 2001 film, surreal animated film by Richard Linklater, that follows a young man, Wiley Wiggins, through a series of dreamlike states where he engages in philosophical discussions about reality, consciousness, and the meaning of life. Sounds like a really cool movie. Has a rotoscoping. That's neat. Explores themes of free will, existentialism, and the nature of dreams, featuring a cast that includes so-and-so and such and such. Cool. I'm definitely gonna watch this. It reminds me, maybe it's the exact same film, but I'm not sure. You know what this is? I have seen this film a very long time ago. Wow, I was trying to find this movie. Thank you so much. I've been like, this movie's been on like the back of my mind here and there once in a while for a long time. I think I saw it at least 10 years ago now. And wow, that's crazy you just brought that up. I remember it being very surreal, as it says. It's very cool. Thank you. Is that one of your top films? Do I know what time? Boogeyman's asking why I'll do the Q&A. Well, I guess in the next, say, let's 2:15, we'll do a 15-minute meditation. And then at 2:30, we can start doing Q&A, discussion. If no one has questions, I'll just... I brought the Dhammapada with me. I have the Bhagavad Gita and the Course in Miracles, so I can always just grab a passage from any of these books and we can discuss. But we'll say 2:30, around 2:30. We're going to start our meditation in about 2 minutes. I think it's always nice to start with a group meditation because it sets the intention to be present. It does sort of increase the vibes. Would you guys be interested in a guided meditation? Oh, it's not raining where I am. I have rain sounds in the background of the stream. I feel like it kind of fills in the space a little, gives a very relaxing atmosphere. But if it's too loud, let me know and I can turn it down. Or if you guys don't like it, I can always turn it off. No, I just turned it down a little. It did look like it was a bit high. Oh, great. I'm glad that it sounds good. Have you ever read the book Awareness by Anthony DeMello? I unfortunately I haven't read that. But I'll look that up after our meditation. So we'll start our meditation. I'm going to switch it to my tablet screen so anybody who joins knows that we're doing a meditation. And I'll start a timer. Okay, so let's all settle in. You don't have to worry about the time. I'll keep an eye out for everybody and let you know when it's completed. I'll guide the meditation, and I was thinking today we could do a body scan meditation to help relax ourselves and become present. So let's begin by settling in, getting comfortable. You could be lying down, you could be sitting. Whatever is comfortable for you. And then when you're ready, just take a nice deep, slow, steady breath in through the nostrils. And hold just at the top. And then a nice, slow, steady exhale through the nostrils. So we're bringing our attention to the breath at the nostrils. And just take, at your own pace, these nice, slow, steady breaths, holding at the top. Just for a few moments. There's no right way or wrong way. It's completely at your own pace. And when you do exhale, on your next exhale, intend to relax your mind and body. You might even say to yourself in your mind, I am relaxed. And take as many of these deep breaths as you feel you need to in order to relax and settle into the present moment. Repeating to yourself, I am relaxed. My mind is relaxed. My body is relaxed. Right now is for me and my peace and my presence. So we're going to let go of the past. We're going to let go of anything that might be about the future, maybe appointments or tasks. We're not concerned with those right now. For the next 12 minutes, we're going to be taking time for relaxation and presence. You can just allow your breath to settle into a natural, subtle rhythm. But whenever you need to, you can take these deep breaths naturally to relax. And if you haven't closed your eyes, you can allow your eyes to close as we continue to focus on the breath. Nice and even, natural and calm. And we're going to start by placing our attention at the feet. Both feet, one foot, that's okay, whatever's comfortable. And say, my feet are relaxed. My feet are relaxed. And just allow the tension to leave the feet. Then move your attention up to the calves. Just observe them and say, my calves are relaxed. And relax the calves. Now the shins on the other side of the lower leg. Observe and say, my shins are relaxed. And allow them to release any tension. And now up to the knees, the kneecaps, inside the knees, the joint. My knees are relaxed. My knees are relaxed. Now place a diffuse attention on your entire lower leg, down from your knees to your feet. And say, my lower legs are relaxed. My lower legs are relaxed. Now up to our thighs, our quads. Place our attention on the top part of our legs, the thighs, and say, my thighs are relaxed. I am relaxed. My thighs are relaxed. Now the back part, the hamstring area. Place your attention there. My hamstrings, the back of my thighs, are relaxed. Now your hips, your hip flexors, your waist. My waist and hips are relaxed. My entire pelvis is relaxed. All of its muscles, all of the tendons and tissue, completely relaxed. Now let's place our awareness from the waist, the hips, down to the feet, our entire legs. Both are completely relaxed. My legs are relaxed. My legs are relaxed. I intend to let go of any tension left over in your legs. You might feel tingling, you might feel twitching. Just surrender these things and continue to surrender and relax and let go. Becoming more relaxed, more present, more comfortable, feeling more safe. And now up to the abdomen, the belly area, the lower abdomen, where the belly button is, where the navel is. We hold a lot of tension here throughout the day, so let's give it permission to relax. My stomach is relaxed. My belly is relaxed. My abdomen is relaxed. Let go of all the tension in this area. It holds a lot. From the intestines internally to the abs externally. Just relax. And now the lower back on the other side also holds a lot of tension. My lower back is relaxed. Now let's move up to the chest and rib cage. My chest and rib cage is relaxed. And around to the other side, the upper and mid back. My back is relaxed. I am relaxed. Now let's place our attention as best we can on the entire torso, from the chest down to the hips, and just relax. Intend to relax this entire area. Any leftover tension is now left. Now up to the shoulders, the tops of the shoulders, sides of the shoulders. Also holds a lot of tension. We tend to pull them up to our ears throughout the day. Just relax them. If you're sitting, allow them to relax down. If you're lying, allow them to sink down into the bed or surface you're lying on. Ah, nice and relaxed. My shoulders are relaxed. Now let's do the upper arms, the biceps and triceps, from the shoulder down to the elbow. We can start with the right side. It's hard to do both, so the right upper arm is relaxed. My right upper arm, bicep and tricep are relaxed. Down to the elbow on the right arm. The inside, the outside, the complete joint of the elbow. It works very hard for us, so let's give it a chance to relax. My elbow is relaxed. Now the forearm, from the elbow down to the wrist. My forearm is relaxed. And the wrist, with its very complicated joint system, intend to relax the entire wrist and every part of it, inside, outside, tendons, bones, sinew. Imagine it all relaxing. Just let go and surrender. My wrist is relaxed. And now your right hand and the palm all the way up to the fingertips. Each finger and thumb are relaxed. Let's move back up to the left shoulder. Relax the left shoulder. And pay attention to the left upper arm now. The left bicep, the left tricep. My upper arm is relaxed. Down to the elbow again on the left side. Inside and out. My elbow is relaxed. Now the forearm. My forearm is relaxed. On the left wrist, inside and out, every little portion, intend to relax and let it be. Completely surrender. My wrist is relaxed. Now the left hand, from palm to fingertip, back of the hand, every tendon, every joint. The entire left hand is relaxed. My left hand is relaxed. Now let's place our attention in a diffuse manner over the entire body, from the neck and shoulders down to the toes, our arms, our hands, our feet, our legs, our torso, our back. The whole thing, my whole body is relaxed. I am relaxed. And just allow yourself to let go of all tension. I let go of all tension. I am at peace. I am present. I am here. And I am safe. Now the neck and throat, inside and out, back and front, side, left side, right side. The entire neck holds a lot of tension, the way we look at screens and our phones. Just relax the throat, relax the neck. The throat can get very tight. Just surrender. If there's any sensations, let them go. Any tightness, let it go. My throat and neck are relaxed. And the jaw, the entire jaw, especially below the ears, where the muscles are, can also get very tight. My jaw is relaxed. And then the face, the rest of the face, the eyes, the eyebrows, the forehead. Just intend to relax the face. Relax the tongue. Relax the mouth, the lips. My entire face is relaxed. There's no need to hold tension here. No need to hold stress or concern. I am relaxed. We'll do the top of the head, the scalp. My scalp is relaxed. And the back of the head, the back of my head is relaxed. Now, the entire head within your awareness, the entire face, the entire skull. My head is relaxed. My head is relaxed. Now the entire body, from head to toe, every inch inside and out, say, I am relaxed. And let go of any residual tension. There's no right or wrong way. We are relaxed. And now just return to the breath at the nostrils. Take a nice, deep, slow inhale and hold at the top, just for a few moments. And as you exhale, I am relaxed, and let it all go. And let's set the intention for the rest of the day, for this live stream, for the rest of our lives if we can. To be relaxed, to be present, to be calm, to be equanimous, to observe, to be kind, to be compassionate. We are here, we are present, we are relaxed, and we are safe. All else will come just as easily as our current state. And with that, whenever you're ready, you can come out of the meditation by opening your eyes and intending to be present. All right, I hope the meditation was nice. For those of you who participated, it was nice for me. And now we can discuss if you'd like, if any questions you have. Please let me know. If there are no questions right now, I'm just going to open up a random passage and we can talk about it, or I'll meditate for a moment and see if anything comes. May is asking, how do I get over internet addiction? Well, if we slow down and attempt to question or investigate what is this internet addiction, then it'll be easier to tackle or to quote-unquote get over, as you put it, than if we have a very abstract label like internet addiction. This addiction, like all addictions, are coming from a place of desire. And that desire can be an addiction like you're describing. I love art and I want to create, but I end up over-consuming and not creating. Yes, so this sort of compulsion to scroll, to consume content on the internet, it is coming from a latent desire for entertainment. And we can investigate the energy beneath this desire for being entertained, for wanting to not be bored. And you'll find through investigating it that it presents as sort of an uncomfortableness. And underneath that might even be fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being in quiet, fear of being in the solitude of the moment, fear of the present moment as it is. So, in order to get over it, you have to investigate why it is you're doing it in the first place. When you do that, you'll be able to... Am I not loud enough? Anyway, if you do that, then you'll be able to relinquish the energy of desire and craving. And it won't be as compelling. It won't be as much of a compulsion in the future. Hello, realize. Realize. I like that. I say that as a joke sometimes. But for practical steps in the meantime, like that's something that I described, that's something you should do in meditation. When you have a moment, and as it arises, be mindful of it so you can investigate it. If you catch yourself scrolling, consuming, when you know that you'd rather be creating, just stop and then meditate. Just stop and observe. Practical steps you can take outside of this practice, this overall contemplation or investigation, is to eliminate how much access you have to consumption. So don't have your phone next to you all the time, especially when you wake up in the morning or before you go to bed. Keep devices outside of areas where you'd rather have the ability to create or to have solitude. So if you're creating something like art that is on physical material and not digital, then it's easy for you to just put your phone in a different place. Go to another room where the phone isn't or the computer isn't and do it there. This way you're separating your creative, endeavor from consumption. And then that way it's a lot easier to notice the difference in fulfillment. I think it's sort of like a two-way approach. One, you're creating this space so you can notice, I feel more fulfilled when I create. I don't feel fulfilled when I consume. And then also relinquishing the energy behind wanting to consume through a lack of, entertainment or a fear of boredom. So I sort of approach it that way. And hopefully that'll help. Please let me know. Let's see. I just see a quick question from Artistic Aura. I think that you've commented before, and I said what satsang means. There's two roots to the word satsang. Sat means true, and sang is from the word sangha, which means company or gathering. It's basically an intentional gathering of people to discuss and be in the presence of truth. So it's really a spiritual gathering. I hope that helps. Let's see. Satenta Kelly, I was out walking with my son in the pram, as usual. When he falls asleep, I usually listen to a podcast and tried meditation walking, but I could not stop getting lost in thought. Yeah, it's going to take practice. When you meditate while you're doing an activity, you can approach it more of a mindfulness meditation than I'm just going to focus on the breath. This creates more, entertainment for the mind. So if you're walking, you can focus on the sounds you hear. You can focus on the steps you're taking, what it feels like on the soles of your feet, what your legs feel like as their musculature is moving your body. Maybe there's a sound of your clothing swishing, your pant legs are swishing against each other, things of this nature. And you can move from, what does it look like? What do I see while I walk? What do I hear while I walk? What do I feel in the body while I walk? This way, the moving of attention is more entertaining than constantly trying to be on the nose at the breath. So it's more of a mindfulness practice while engaging in the world, so that you can gradually get good at being present through these means rather than trying to force yourself not to think. Now, thoughts are going to keep coming, but the point is that every time you find yourself distracted by thoughts, you bring yourself back to the practice. And you do not think about how you were thinking, especially in a negative way. Don't be like, oh, I messed up again. and then guilt yourself about it. That defeats the purpose. Every time you fall off the horse, you just get back on. Every time you stumble off the bicycle, you just pick it up and get back on and attempt again. It's important to be kind to ourselves, to be compassionate, and to, remind ourselves it takes time, it takes practice, but with dedicated effort, you will see improvements. So Cheng is asking, the identification with me and my desire is the root. Have you ever read the book? Oh, I'm not sure if this is a question from Cheng. The identification with me and my desire is the root. I'm assuming you mean to the internet addiction thing, maybe. And then we have, thank you, Mia, that you love the channel. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Realize, saying namaste. I truly appreciate the kind of knowledge you share. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. If you have any questions, feel free. Kaya Cat, scroll if you want, but more often than not, while you start creating, you want to keep going. Yeah, I agree. When you start creating, this is what I meant by separating the environments. You'll notice that creating feels a lot better than scrolling or consuming. And eventually you'll just leave the phone, you'll just leave the devices, you won't turn them on as much, you won't do that stuff as much because you find the other things so much more fulfilling. Artistic aura, I already answered. What satsang means. Will this live be safe for playback? It's a good idea. I will do my best. I'll keep it available. The other two I've done I didn't keep because they were kind of like practice, and I feel like this one's going really well. I think it deserves to be available all the time. So, especially if you're asking, especially if it helps, definitely. Artist, I asked because India satsang means to imagine God and sing His praises and identify ourselves as God's own. Yeah, I definitely see that as part of the meaning of satsang. To gather for satsang means to gather with others, to be in the presence of the intention to worship God, to imagine God, to sing His praises, to pray, to identify with God, to identify with divinity, to identify with, holy scriptures or company, all this stuff. So, as my understanding, that satsang is like a very broad term. Even if in your context it's quite specific, I agree with your definition because it's included in my understanding of what satsang is. Realize. What are your thoughts on the idea of creating your own meaning and not taking life so seriously? I truly relate to the video that things stop being so sticky once your perspective evolves. I think that I would personally word it a little bit differently, from creating your own meaning to just feeling your own meaning. And what I mean by that is the meaning of a thing or the purpose of a thing is itself. I think that the ego really complicates what purpose, what meaning is. When if you were completely present, you would be able to feel the inherent, innate joy that presence brings, that the meaning of anything or life is. For me personally, it was more of a relinquishment of everything that you think life means or that you think the purpose of life is. As you relinquish the ego, you also relinquish all of these programs, these ideas, these concepts about how to live your life and for what reason and for whom and to what end. And you realize that there really is no purpose in the way that the ego wants there to be a purpose, like some sort of end goal you're supposed to be achieving. It's actually you find peace, purpose, presence, harmony, happiness, joy, love, right here, right now. And that's possible through the work. It becomes more apparent. It reveals itself to you. I truly relate to the idea that things stop being so sticky once your perspective. Yes. So in the same sense, for example, if someone thought that the meaning of their life was to earn $1 million and put it in their bank account, and then watch it grow through investment and interest, they would eventually, if they engage in spiritual work, realize that that is like a fleeting and surface level, or what's the word? It's like a vanity or a facade. It has no depth. If you get that $1 million, are you just going to sit there and watch it? And I guarantee you the ego would not be satisfied. And this is the kind of thing that falls away. This is the kind of stuff that gets less sticky, as you're putting it. You become more benign, more loving, more present, more kind, and less feverish and desirous about life and its quote-unquote meaning. So definitely create your own meaning if that's how that's how you understand life. But for me, it's more of a revealing of meaning rather than deliberately trying to make life meaningful. If you allow yourself to be present and relinquish, you'll notice that there's plenty meaning right here, right now, just being here, right now. Cheng, have you read the Tao Te Ching? I have read a lot of the Tao Te Ching. I don't know if I've read the whole thing. I can't remember. I may have. It's not very long, is it? I can't remember. It's been a while. But yeah, I know what the Tao Te Ching is. I've read enough of it. If not the whole thing, it's just been a while. Rect, hey man, thanks for your videos. Thank you for being here, and thank you for saying so. I really appreciate that you are saying so and lending your support. It helps to be encouraged to keep going, even though I would do it regardless, because I don't know what else to do. This is my work. Artistic Aura, what's your way to do satsang? Well, as I said, my understanding of satsang is more broad. It's more of an umbrella term. It means to gather together, to be in the presence of truth, to talk about truth, to talk about God, if you want to see it that way. I try not to offend anybody with the word God because there's a lot of baggage attached to that word, but I appreciate the concept and reality as the way that I see it of God, and truth with a capital T. So that's the way I do satsang, and it will evolve as this channel evolves. This live stream, modality of communication will evolve. Maybe I'll have presentations and do more of a traditional satsang or sangha, maybe a discussion, a lecture. But for now, I think that the Q&A works because I have videos and then people have questions, and I'm able to answer them much quicker in a live stream scenario. So right now, satsang is us gathering together, being a community, guided meditations, being present together, and discussing how to improve our lives through spiritual practice, and how to attain peace, attain happiness, and become forgiving, compassionate, and present. Leah is saying, thank you so much for this meditation. It was much needed. I'm glad. Thank you for participating. I think that was a really good guided meditation. I liked it a lot too. Artistic Aura. I actually had a doubt about satsang. Buddha criticizes satsang and valued self-realization more, and I feel like it. What's your thoughts? I don't really. I think that you mean satsang in your very much more specific, and probably within your area or specific culture, that definition of gathering together and praising God and singing. I guess that you could describe my satsang as a more of a sangha. Like it's a community, it's a gathering. So in that sense, maybe Buddha criticized focusing too much on the ritualization of praising God or singing about God or visualizing God, because that does not take you inward. And just like the Buddha taught, same as Jesus Christ, and if I'm not mistaken, same as Krishna, you should be looking inwards to discover the presence of God. So I think that the reason the Buddha would criticize the ritualization aspect of satsang is that you're getting too superficial about it, and you should be engaging in self-inquiry, self-investigation, attempting to understand your own lived experience and discovering the presence that is within you. And this goes with not making an idol of anything. That's Jesus taught that, so did the Buddha. I think that there's a saying, I don't think it's from the Buddha, it is from, maybe it's Zen, I'm not sure, but I know it goes, if you meet the Buddha on the road, cut his head off, which means you're not putting anybody above yourself and your own experience. You follow the maps, you follow the signposts and the guides, but at the end of the day, you're the one doing the work, and the path is a very subjective endeavor. You will have your own realizations, your own revelations, your own experiences, and you will reach enlightenment through your own skillful means, your own skillful work. You can't put it on anybody else to do it for you, or give you a magic mantra or magic pill, magic word, magic prayer. It will be down to your practice. Rect, still here for the drawings and clever words. Great, thank you. I'm assuming you're referring to the one I did that was all digital drawings, unless you mean all the drawings, including the ones I do on the pieces of paper. I feel like I'm going to be using the digital drawings and that sort of, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Format for more conceptual things, less of like a show and tell, teach, like here's a technique or here's something you can actually do practically, and then the pencil and paper is like I'm teaching you a technique or something of that nature. But we'll see, because the digital ones take a lot longer. The paper, pencil, crayons, and pencil is really, really easy. Leah is saying, I've watched many videos on meditation, and this stream has helped me the most. I felt the front of my skull almost vibrating, not in a disruptive way, but in a peaceful way. Is that normal? Yes, it's very normal. It's really cool that you had some sensation. It's normal. It's sort of a energetic release, a somatic release. It could be your muscles. It could also be your energy body. We hold a lot of tension, and that tension is not just physical. It's actually also energetic. It's emotional. And as we relinquish, as we surrender, as we let go, you will feel the symptoms of the letting go. It's like if you had a cramp in your leg or a very tight muscle. It's not painful, but if someone were to notice it and push on it, you'd be like, ow, there's a knot in my leg, or there's a knot in my back. Don't push there. When we relax and we massage that area, then it eventually loosens and the knot is gone, the tension is gone. And you notice the difference after the fact. So it's very similar. You may not know how tight you are. You may not know how much baggage and energy you hold in both your body and your energy body, how much emotional energies are beneath your conscious awareness. But as you do the work, that's when you can look back and go, wow, there's a big difference. And it's really cool that you experienced that. So it is normal. You could feel it any part of your body, not just your head, not just the top of your skull, or not just your feet or legs or whatever, or your hands. You can feel sensations across your entire body as you do this sort of work. It may have also helped that we're all here together meditating, and it creates a field where the intention is strong enough to create certain symptoms, you could say. Realize, realize, realize. I'm going to just call you real from now on. Real is saying, thank you for taking my quest, Shen. The $1 million helps me live a happier life, and the pursuit keeps me happy day to day. But I don't get attached to it. Different games in life, you choose the one you want to play. Of course. You choose the life you want to live. You choose the meaning that it has for you. You choose your own purpose. And that purpose or that meaning is revealed to you as you surrender all the stuff you don't actually want, that has just been sort of thrust upon you by society, by teachers, by culture, by parents, etc. So it's sort of a constant relinquishing, a constant discovery, and a constant choosing. And it changes over time. So what you think is your purpose now may not be your purpose in 5 years or 10 years. And I've noticed that in my own life throughout the practice, throughout the work. So. Do we have any more questions? Rek is asking, what do I like to do for fun? I really enjoy music. I haven't been doing it as much lately, but I really enjoy music. I am a drummer. I can play guitar, and I can sing. My wife would definitely say that I can sing, so I'm practicing how to sing. The latest thing that I attempted singing was Gregorian chants, because I love them. They're very, very beautiful. But my main instrument is drums, and I really enjoy drumming. What else? I really enjoy nature. I really enjoy hiking, being around trees, specifically big expanses of beautiful grass with trees, water, the sound of creeks, rivers, streams, botanical gardens, anything to do with nature I love. I don't think that I'm a very intensive hiker, so I wouldn't call me like an off the beaten path hiker with all this gear, things like that. I enjoy camping. And occasionally I'll play a video game, occasionally I'll watch a film or movie, but it depends a lot now on the content that I'm consuming, because if it's overly violent, if it's overly sexualized, if it's overly just abrasive, there's too many swear words or anything like that, it feels very uncomfortable for me at this point, which is something that happened over time. So this isn't sort of like a knock on it. This is something that I would have done, even 10 years ago, 5 years ago to a lesser degree, and now even to an even lesser degree. So it's just an evolution. And as you relinquish, you become lighter and lighter, and there's less of a pull towards things that are low vibration. And it sounds cliche. I think that in the spiritual circles, there's a lot on the whole, like high vibes versus low vibes. And, you gotta have high vibes, and there's a whole lot of stuff around spiritual bypassing in there. But unironically, there is high vibe ways to spend your time, and there's low vibe ways to spend your time. So occasional video game, occasional movie. A lot of my favorite movies that I used to have as favorite movies are no longer something that I can even tolerate watching. Like when The Joker came out, I was like, wow, this is an incredible movie. It's great cinematography, great writing, great acting, really good movie. But I tried to watch it more recently, and it's just way too much, way too violent, way too sad. Like even just the beginning scene, it's just too much. So I couldn't watch it. It's just like, well, that was a nice movie. And not nice in the nice definition of nice, but it was like, that was nice. When it lasted, having that as one of my favorite movies, it's gone now. It's past. I have outgrown it, you could say. So, well, what do you do for fun? What do you like to do for fun? Thank you for asking. I think as a rule of thumb, though, yeah, creativity is more entertaining and fulfilling now than consumption, and I think that happens to a lot of people as they relinquish anything holding them back from that creative spark. So, Real is saying, thank you, friend. What is the point of relationships, romantic and others? Why can't we just relinquish our needs for them? Also, if someone is entangled in survival, they won't be able to think on higher levels. Part of the point of relationships, if you were to ask me what the point of relationships are, they are to learn love. They are to learn how to forgive. They are for learning how to be compassionate, to be present, to connect with another person, to understand them, to understand yourself, to communicate, to learn how to extend for communication rather than to block off communication through, becoming very insular and self-centric in an egotistical way. So it's sort of like you extend a hand, you extend the olive branch, you extend the desire to communicate, become present, become loving, become forgiving, and know another person, really. Hello, self-gazing. Thank you for joining the live stream. I hope that you enjoy your stay. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. So I think that's the point. And I have a video on holy relationships as termed in A Course in Miracles versus special relationships, which are what most people experience are special relationships. They're relationships that are dictated, or the goal is set for the relationship. They're sort of started by the ego and they're maintained through the ego, and they end up not being fulfilling because you can't fulfill the ego's whims, and then people move on, they break up for some reason or the other, and then they move on to another one. But if you're in a holy relationship, this is one where the intention for the relationship, the goal is set by the Holy Spirit, and you allow a higher intelligence, you allow your deeper knowledge or your deeper wisdom or God or the Holy Spirit or however you want to look at it, your higher self, to bring to you a relationship so that you can practice the posture, the intention of forgiveness, of communication, of true sight, of true vision, rather. So you use the relationship as a vehicle on your spiritual path to do the practice of forgiveness, loving kindness, compassion, etc. And through the relationship, you begin to recognize a lack of separation between you and the other person. And this is true for my current relationship with my wife. And we are in a holy relationship. We both surrendered to God before we met, and we met through that intention. And it's been incredible. So I highly recommend, if you're interested in a holy relationship, to at least intend for it, to let go of your expectations and surrender and allow that to happen for you. And if it does, that's wonderful. And then you're asking, if someone is entangled in survival, they won't be able to think of higher levels. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I don't think that it's strictly a black and white situation. I think it depends on your perspective. It depends on your, level of consciousness, your, ability to stay poised, to stay present. There's this really wonderful story that I heard Ram Dass once say a long time ago in a lecture, where there's I guess you could say, there's an invading force on a Buddhist country, and I'm not sure about the specifics, but they are telling all the monks to leave or they're going to be killed. And they're going to tear down all the monasteries and whatever, all the statues of Buddha. And they go in, and all of the monks have left, and some lackeys or, soldiers come to the general and say, every monk has left except one. He's just standing at the temple, and he won't leave. So the general says, oh, he'll leave once he gets a look at me. Let me go talk to him. Once he meets me, he'll definitely change his tune. So, and this general is known for conquering. He's really, really vicious guy. So he goes to the temple and walks in, barges in, throws open the doors, walks straight up to the monk and says, do you have any idea who I am? I could take this sword and I could run it right through your belly without even blinking. I don't care that you're a holy man, yada yada yada. But the monk, completely unfazed, looks directly at the general and says, do you have any idea who I am? I could have you take your sword and drive it through my belly and not even blink. And then it said that right in that moment, the general dropped his sword on the ground, bowed down to the monk, and asked if he could teach him. So it's a really cool story. And I do think that's possible. I think that you can get into a position where if you're enlightened, you're not going to be worried about the physicality of your body, about its health. And this is something that Dr. Hawkins says a lot, is that there's a point in when you become enlightened where the body, if it walks on and continues breathing, that's great. If it doesn't really matter to you because you're not the body. Turkey is saying, do you think that everyone can reach enlightenment? I think that anyone can. I think that everyone can. Will they? I don't think that most people are even aware of enlightenment, let alone able to practice the work in such a way, with such dedication, that they will become enlightened. I think that enlightenment is inevitable. I think that everybody will eventually realize God at some point, realize the self, realize their true nature at some point. But I don't think that, how many people are interested in it, right? How many people are doing the work? But anyone can. Anyone definitely can if they want to. Rek is saying, appreciate your answer. You seem very creative and skilled. I love to do things that claims my thoughts, like learning new skills, getting immersed in nature, and exploring the depth of myself and universe. I agree. It's very nice to be enthralled with something, to be engaged in something, to get into a flow state, to be, immersed. So I agree. I've always been someone who really enjoys learning, really enjoys exploring, especially concepts, ideas, learning new abstract frameworks and theories, things like this. So, but thank you so much. I appreciate that you said that I seem creative and skilled. Thank you. Artistic Aura, a humble question. Have you done PhD? No, I have not done a PhD. Realize, thank you, friend. I wish health and serenity for you and your loved ones. Thank you so much. You as well. I wish you all the best, and may you experience real peace and real happiness. May your loved ones experience real peace and real happiness. Again, I'm not really sure how many people are here. I don't really get to see when someone joins. So, welcome to anybody who has joined recently. Now that I have a moment to greet you and welcome you. Glad to have you here. And I hope that you enjoy. Hope that you're having a wonderful day. I hope that this is of benefit. How is the volume, by the way, everybody? Is the rain at a good volume and my voice at a good volume? Is the stream of a watchable quality? Hello, Sandy. Welcome. Volume is a bit low. Okay, maybe I can bring the mic closer to my mouth. I just don't want you guys to pick up breathing. But let's see. Here, I'll mute the mic for a second. Okay, how's this? Is this a bit better? A bit closer? I can talk a bit louder. Turn up the gain, maybe. Self-gazing, my question disappeared. Huh. What if I go to live chat? Does that change it? Yeah, I don't see it. I'm sorry. I'm not sure why it disappeared. If you can rewrite it or retype it, I guess make sure there's no swearing in it or anything, or even if it's like a little, SHIT, anything like that, because I do have moderation on. Let's see. Maddie, Redwan, I'm really loving this session. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're here. Glad that we're developing this community together. Please continue to drop by when I do these. I'm hopeful that I can do it once a week, every Sunday, 2 p.m. EST at the very least. So I'll start doing like a scheduled live on the YouTube, sort of just slowly getting my feet when it comes to this stuff. Self-gazing. What are your thoughts on the relationship between spirituality and money? Do you see them as inversely related or something that can grow together? Money in and of itself, like anything else, is not bad nor good. It simply is. And I know that for myself personally, I can speak that I've had an interesting relationship with money because I grew up impoverished or below the poverty line. So money was it's very important in a way. It's very important to be sort of frugal or miserly, to save, to put away, to make sure you have an emergency fund, to save up for the things you want. And this created a sort of like a tension around money. And as I've done the work, I've relinquished this tension more and more so that I can say personally, I recognize that money is not something to be hoarded. It's not something to be anxious about. It's not something to crave, to feverishly desire for its own sake. Money is it's an expression of energy in the physical domain, you could say. Because you have to give time and energy to receive money, and you are basically exchanging that time and that time and energy for the money. It's sort of like a vehicle for the energy spent in order to acquire it. And then you can spend that money in order to receive somebody else's time and money. So it's a physical representation and manifestation of energy. And if you sort of abstract, I would even say you're not abstracting, you're letting go of the abstraction of what money is and allowing its nature to reveal itself, which is just like anything else. It's energy, it's present, and you're not bound to and by the concepts you have of money. If you're worried about it or scared, those are in and of themselves just energies. It's just fear, and you can relinquish the fear because it's coloring your perception of what money is. And once you relinquish the fear, you recognize what money is in essence. So I don't see them inversely related. I see, idolatry as, you could say, inversely related to real spiritual work. You would be relinquishing your idolatry of money, your worship of money, in order to progress. So you can let go of everything you assume money is, all of your concepts about it, any emotional baggage around it, and you may or may not see a growth in your financial ability, your financial means as you do so. What happened for me, like one of the main turning points, was reading how Jesus Christ told his apostles to not concern themselves with hoarding or gathering silver or copper or whatever it is, bronze. I can't remember. But just don't like have a little purse with you when you go out and minister. Allow God to take care of you. And he points to the birds of the sky, how they don't farm, they don't gather wheat into silos or like grain into silos or barns and store them for later. And God provides for even the flowers. They don't have to toil or twist or strain or spin around in order to bloom, to grow and bloom. They are provided for. And he consistently tells us to, or told his apostles to, just let go and allow God to take care of you. And that's been something that I've been experimenting with. That's been something since I read it that I've been engaging in, a complete surrender. And you don't have to believe in God. You don't even have to follow what I'm saying, but I'm just letting you know that that's my personal path. That's what I've been engaging in, endeavoring on. And that's really changed how money feels to me, what it means to me, things like that. Turkey is saying, do you think we can manifest things that aren't possible, like going from $0 to 60 plus with no work, basically? I'm curious because you said in a video that you can even break reality. I think that it's really important to stay within context because, yeah, if you were Jesus, if you were Buddha, if you were enlightened, if you were God realized, if you were self-realized, then you would be able to break reality. But it'd be misleading for me to say, okay, Turkey, you can go break reality right now. You would have to relinquish absolutely every concept that you have that they're all subconscious too. You have to really plumb the depths of your mind through deep meditation to realize some of these deep-rooted concepts about reality and then let them go. And letting them go can be extremely terrifying. One of those things is the fear of death, the fear of annihilation. So the only reason, say, Jesus or Buddha could heal people and even bring them, Jesus reportedly brought people back from the dead, is because he was at a point where death was not real. And that happens to many people at a certain point. They realize that death isn't real. We have things like near-death experiences where people do die. They leave the physical body, they realize that death is not actually real, and then they're completely transformed. Many saints, sages, mystics of history, even current time, have realized that death isn't real. And that's one like signpost, you start learning that all of the concepts you have about reality are not actually true. And we've heard over and over and over again from many different places that your mind influences how you perceive reality. Your mind, your thoughts, what you hold in mind influences what you experience. And if you dig even a little bit deeper, you realize that you actually actively participate in the creation of your reality. So it definitely depends on what are your assumptions, what are your beliefs, what's your conditioning, what are the concepts you hold about reality. And if you can let it all go, you would be able to break reality. My personal experience with manifesting and things like that, just like everything else, I'm a very skeptical person. I have a science background, and when I got into all this stuff, I was very dubious of this whole manifestation thing. But what do you do when you are skeptical? You seek to prove it. I'm not going to take anyone's word for it. I read it enough times in different places. It's time for me to figure it out for myself. And through that intention, I was able to prove that you do have an influence and you do create your reality. So wrecked. Anxiety from money issues opened my eyes for the more important things in life. It's still a battle, but I feel I'm winning. That's wonderful. And you do realize that if you spend a lot of time thinking about money, you're not going to spend a whole lot of time thinking about the stuff that actually matters. Like being present, being loving, being kind, being with loved ones, engaging in things that are fulfilling. You're just going to be chasing this imaginary number because, you need it. But who told you you need it? And maybe you can experiment just like I did. Will God take care of me? Will a higher intelligence that is an energy and intelligence and an infinite essence and presence be able to take care of me the way that it takes care of everything else? You know, I'm breathing just fine, and I don't need $1 million in my bank account. So it's sort of having faith that everything can take care of itself, and this develops over time as you test the waters. You know, you dip your toes in the shallow end first, and eventually you can get up on a live stream and say things with confidence because you've already done it enough times. But that's why I'm never trying to impress upon somebody or push on somebody my own experience or belief, because it took time for me to get to this point. It took time for me to be able to be comfortable with these concepts. So it'll take time for everybody else. And I think it comes naturally to some people too. So you never know. Nick is saying, if this is desire is driven by ego, it's unlikely to manifest. Yeah, so a very important thing about manifestation is you need to let go. Having a feverish desire creates an energy field where the desire is prominent. So the energy, the emotional energy of desire is the thing that's creating more desire. You know, there's a law of correspondence at play where you're basically spinning up the wheel or the inertia of desire so that it keeps spinning. If I had a bike tire right here and it was labeled desire, and every time I thought about what I wanted, I was spinning it, it'll just keep spinning. And every time I think about how much I want it, I'll spin it again. It'll never settle down enough to not be desire anymore. You know, it'll never stop and relinquish the energy of desiring. I'm constantly desiring something. You have to let go of the desire. And this is why, you know, I wish maybe I could pull up the Bible, but this is certainly why Jesus talked about how if you believe. I was reading the Bible just yesterday. You know, sometimes I return to all these different texts, and it was really fascinating to see how much Jesus told everybody who wanted a miracle from him, according to your belief. If you believe, it'll happen. According to your faith, it'll happen. He didn't say, okay, you asked me, I'll do it. He said, I can. He basically said, I can if you believe. If you don't, it's not going to happen. I could try and save your sick daughter or your, uncle or whatever, or heal your legs. But if you don't actually believe it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. And I think this points to that thing about assumptions, about your garden. What are you cultivating? What assumptions and concepts, ideas about reality do you have? What energy are you perpetuating? So I'm not really into the whole law of attraction thing. I think that it's like sort of it's too shallow. It doesn't have the depth that is necessary to really understand why it functions. And that's also what propelled me to investigate deeper, because I'm like, there's something missing here. If this actually works, why does it work? And I'm going to figure it out. And I could say I figured it out. I wouldn't say that I figured it out completely. I'm not like some all-knowing entity, but I figured out enough to have confidence in the mechanism, in the validity of it. Maddie is saying, sometimes I got stuck to do things I want to do. I feel like I would be judged and my ego would get hurt. I'm thinking of taking a small step to test the outcome. It's good that you're thinking about taking a small step. As you attempt to do this thing that you're afraid you'll be judged for, be mindful of the emotional energy behind this block. So it's like you have fear. You're afraid of judgment from others. So you can sit with that and observe the way that I described in the letting go videos, and then let it up and let it out. And something that you can engage in is this sort of questioning of, okay, so what? What will happen? I do this thing, and then your brain says, your mind, the ego tells you, you're going to be judged if you do the thing. Then you go, okay, then what? Or so what? And then the ego says, well, if you get judged, then these people won't like you anymore and you'll lose them as friends. And then you go, okay, so what? And then, okay, well, if you don't have those friends, you'll end up completely alone, and you just keep doing this over and over again. I like the then what is sort of like getting the train going so you can see how deep the fear goes. Because what you're doing is you're getting to the root of the fear. And then I also like so what, because it's sort of like telling the ego, like, I don't care what you have to say. I don't care about these negative paradigms, these negative concepts, these negative impressions of what might happen or won't happen based on my actions. You can basically disregard it. It's not your friend, and you don't have to take what it says seriously. You just continuously let go of all of the conditioning that has created the habit of the thinking mind and of the ego identification, so you can be free of it. And taking these small steps is a part of that. So take a small step and observe. Take a small step and be present. Take a small step and let go of any fear that arises while you take that small step. Kaya is saying water break. So I'm assuming maybe you guys can hear my parched mouth. I am very thirsty. So I'm going to take a water break. I'll be back. I'll just be back in 2 minutes. I have to go get a water. All right, I am back. Thank you for being patient. Let's see. Hello, Isino. Sorry if I didn't see you earlier. Welcome to the stream. Okay. Kind of random, but what do you think about the Mantis beings entity? And have you ever had mystic encounters or anything related to that? Mantis beings? Mantis beings like extraterrestrial beings? I don't really know. I've never met a Mantis being. I did some very early in my journey. I did some research on astral entities, extraterrestrial entities, extra-dimensional entities, all this stuff. You go down all the rabbit holes, and I would say that that's what initially opened up my mind to questioning reality, questioning what I take for granted about reality, all this kind of stuff. So it was part of the journey, but I think that to spend a whole lot of time on extraterrestrials or UFOs or beings or whoever, all this kind of stuff, it's a distraction from the fundamental work that we should be doing if we want to realize both or either unconditional love or enlightenment. So I think you can understand how that is a distraction. If I was really obsessed with getting $1 million, it's the same thing as being really obsessed with UFOs, entities, astral beings, Mantis people, stuff like that. So it depends on what your goals are. And my personal goal is at the very least, unconditional love for all life in all its forms. Sorry if I'm going to move my mic back to, I don't know if I'm being too quiet, but yeah. So, and have I ever had mystic encounters or anything related to mystical encounters? I've personally experienced what people would say are spirits, ghosts, or whatever you want to call it. I've experienced visions of an archangel before. And I've experienced, you could say, contact with extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial or astral beings through dream states or astral projection. But I don't focus on it because it's like, you're walking down the street and a gust of wind blows a leaf and it hits you in the face. And you're like, oh, I just got hit in the face by a leaf. That barely ever happens. When's the last time that happened? I don't even know if it ever has. And you go, it was a cool, random, weird thing that just happened. But it is what it is. One time I had a bird fly right into my head. Do I think all the time about the bird that flew into my head? it happened. It's cool. It's interesting. It was kind of like surprising, but I hope you can see that it's still more distraction. So my purpose is to, if I got really upset about the bird and it really bothered me and I was blaming the bird for its like inability to fly straight and it flew into my face and it scratched my face or my glasses broke or something, then that is an opportunity to relinquish and discover in myself the capacity to forgive and let go and surrender and be present and not engage in the ego drama of a narrative around victimhood or anger or justice or anything like that. So that would be the point. So if I had an experience where I met an entity, it would still be the same thing. I would be focusing on, how do I love this entity? How do I forgive this entity? How do I be compassionate towards this entity? How do I surrender any narratives or stories or concepts I have around meeting this entity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the work remains the same, but you decide what's important to you. And if you really love this stuff and it's engaging for you, spend some time on it. But if you are at the point where you realize it's kind of a distraction, then you can let it go. Let's see. We have Kvet. I'm a very anxious person. When something bad happens, my mind won't shut up for weeks, and I feel emotionally like crap. When I meditate and forcefully shut the mind up, it stays completely silenced, and I feel okay for many days. What is happening here? Very anxious. Something bad happens, it just keeps going. Feel like garbage. So I would reframe the last sentence. Forcefully shut the mind up. What you're doing isn't shutting up the mind, you're actually becoming more present, which means you're paying less attention to the chatter of the mind. The thinking mind continues up until the point of enlightenment, as far as I have learned. I'm not enlightened, I'm not past that threshold yet, so I can't say for certain from my own experience. But through my study, I still have a thinking mind, you still have a thinking mind. We agree on that because after a few days you're saying it comes back, or something happens and you're going through this cycle again. So the thinking mind is still there, it's still active. But what you're doing when you stop engaging with it, stop paying attention to it, and become present through meditation, you have less investment and identification with it. So you're able to actually let go of its chatter and the accompanying emotional baggage or wear on your system, on your mind. So I would say that, you're doing a great job, and maybe you can explore not using this as sort of like a fail-safe or a Hail Mary against these things happening, or like to just do some sort of first aid, but try a consistent meditation practice so you're consistently present. That way you'll feel, like you're saying, I feel okay for many days. You'll feel okay or even very good for many weeks or many months. And then when something comes, then you can add that extra oomph. But it's sort of staying consistent means that you'll be less affected by things and less often. Acute soda. I don't think I read your name before when I answered your question. Acute soda. That's really cute. Wim Hof breathing before meditation works best for me. That's really cool. I'm glad that works. And you're also saying the absence of thought, basically no background chatter, is basically it's right. Maybe you're talking to the other person about that. This is pure gold, says Rect. Thank you so much. I definitely think that I'll keep this one on the channel. Or maybe I'll just splice out some of these, like the water break, things like that. As it as part of my journey, and don't stress about it. I'm not sure what that's to. Kivet responding, cool. Nick is saying, I have a question for you. I experienced ego dissolution a few months back. I realized I was experiencing Nick, but not Nick himself. Since then, I have been able to relax in life 1,000 times more. In a way, what to practice, how, etc. Or you're just wondering what to practice. Mind you, this experience happened after a consistent year of practice and with meditation and mindfulness, etc. Do you think that there's an incompatibility now with practicing meditation and mindfulness after the experience? That's my question. So do you think there's any reason to stop meditation or mindfulness? Oh, I understand. So it's not really a question of what do I do now. It's how do I have that happen again? That was great. What we do in order to have that happen again or experience something cool is we do what we were doing before. So you continue to meditate, you continue to engage in mindfulness, you continue to do self-inquiry, contemplation, forgiveness, compassion. And these things happen as a byproduct of the work through grace, through the grace of God, through the grace of intelligent infinity or whoever. And you don't cling to the experience, you don't cling to having another one. I've noticed that lightning does not strike twice in the exact same place, in the exact same way. Every single experience I've had, including disillusionments or deep or very profound revelations, have not happened the same way twice. It's always been something new and reveals something even a little bit more deeper than I had known previously. So I learned to let go of it. And this can be really difficult, and it was difficult for me, especially after glimpsing the unconditioned, because it was so profound. It was very destabilizing to the ego, but the ego came back. I still have a persona, I still have conditioning, I still have baggage, I still have programming, and I still relinquish it. I had to let go of wishing or wondering, desiring, hoping, all of these ideas, these concepts, these positions that you can have towards the event or about it, or what have you, because it was preventing me from making more progress. You know, I was so preoccupied with thinking so much about what had happened that's what my attention was on. When, if you catch it's very subtle, if you catch it, it sounds very clear and cognizant as I tell you, but if you catch it, you realize, oh, I'm so focused on mind activity, even if it's mind activity about a thing that was really cool, or like showed me something, quote unquote, or revealed something, or helped me transcend other limiting concepts, beliefs, conditioning. You want to stop doing that and just become present again, because all of this happens in the present. Nick's saying, in this world, where there is a lot of information about spiritual things, but I am skeptical of a lot of sources and how pure they are, whether or not they were written by or driven by ego. I'm not sure what practices are genuinely beneficial or helpful. Oh, okay, beneficial for the progress, or if they're actually kind of just helping the ego sustain itself. Anything that's like, oh, this is a super secret technique, and you have to go through all these steps in order to realize this super secret truth or hidden occult knowledge, that stuff is a distraction. The work is very, very simple and very, very direct, very, very intuitive. And if you just take an inventory of all the work that you've engaged in, everything you've read, everything you've been guided to do, what it all has in common is a element of surrender, of letting go. When you're meditating, you're letting go. Like, you close the eyes, you're letting go of the phenomenal world through sight. You're in a quiet environment, so you're letting go of engaging with the environment with your sense of hearing. You're not engaging in eating, drinking, food, anything like that. You're letting go of that. You're down regulating all of the sensory input. You're letting it go. You're not engaging in it. You're not desiring it. And then when something comes up in meditation, you're letting it go, and you're coming back to your point of focus or the technique that you've decided to engage in. What do you do in self-inquiry? You're asking, who am I, or what am I? And you're constantly trying to relinquish the things that you're not. So you're surrendering what you're not. What are you doing during contemplation? And again, just like self-inquiry, you're contemplating these, concepts, maybe scriptures, maybe koans or whatever, in order to relinquish everything that stands in the way of realizing the truth behind it. What do you do for mindfulness? You're letting go of everything that's distracting you through thought, through meditation, from being present. Everything has in common with it this surrender at its base. So really, the spiritual work that you want to be engaging in is surrender. It's letting go. It's being present. And anything that tells you that there's some sort of fancy prayer, fancy dance, fancy song, fancy chant, fancy ritual, that is not what's going to get you there. And I'm not saying that they can't be high vibe, quote unquote, that they can't be helpful, they can't put you into a more conducive environment or situation or headspace, but you run the risk of getting caught up in the thing or the ritual for the sake of it, and very preoccupied with, okay, I got to bow 6 times and I got to spin around, I got to put the incense in this way, I have to do it all this way, and it needs to be perfect. Do you see how it creates a way for the ego to maintain itself? Especially if you start being like, well, I'm the master of the ceremony, and then this is the subordinate, and you have to do these things to get to where I am, so you can light the incense. None of that is the work. All of that is distractions within the world, and this is the whole idea of, like, don't make idols of anything. Get rid of all of it. Cut off the Buddha's head if you meet him on the road. Things like that. Let's see. Hopefully that helped. Cute soda. 2 a.m. here in India and 3:44 p.m. Gosh dang, homie. Yeah. Time zones, eh? Wrecked. Do you feel surrendering requires continuous work? I think that eventually you will decide to make it a continuous endeavor, but you don't have to surrender constantly or make it continuous now. You can start, as we've been talking about a little bit in this stream, with your toes in the shallow end, and just let go of things as you remember, as you feel comfortable, and then just intend to increase that. So it's like going to the gym. Slowly increase the weight you're lifting. So slowly increase the amount you're surrendering, the amount you're letting go of. If you want to go faster, if you want to let go of more garbage, more baggage, more subconscious conditioning, just do the practice more. Sit down more often in meditation and intend to be more mindful more often and continuously let go. You can put the gas on, you can put your foot on the gas more or less depending on how life is going, and it's natural. It's a natural unfolding. You don't have to do it my way or somebody else's way. Just, do what feels good. But remember the fundamentals. Nick is saying, in this world where there is a lot of information about spiritual things, but I am skeptical. Yes, I answered this. Mahdi, I often chase dopamine by scrolling or smoking, and at some point I feel like those dopamine doses are not fulfilling me anymore. I feel the need of mindfulness. Sadly, I am still in that old cycle. I understand. We've all been there. We've all, chased dopamine. We've all been scrolling. We've all used quick fixes through whatever means, food, media, substances, whatever it is. Some of us more than others in different things, but we've all been there. We just want the dopamine. We want to just distract ourselves through quick fixes. And, it could even just be a craving for a bag of chips. So, first of all, I just want to let you know that I've been there, that, you don't have to put yourself down, just in case you are. And you're recognizing it and feeling a need for mindfulness, for meditation, and that's important. That's good. It means you're ready. It means you're ready to do it. Just maybe you need some support, maybe you need some guidance and some encouragement. But after that, it definitely comes down to your own willpower, your own discipline. But I will say that if you want to stop scrolling, you can put barriers in between you and the ability to scroll. If you want to stop smoking, then you need to you can put barriers in between you and the ability to smoke. Basically, how many walls can you put up, figuratively or even literally, between you and this source of quick dopamine? For example, if I really love potato chips and I find myself turning to those way too often for dopamine, I don't really eat potato chips, I'm just giving an example, but I would not buy them from the store. So there's a physical barrier between me and being able to eat the potato chips. It's easier to eat them if they're in the house. It's much, much harder to eat them if I just don't buy them. And if you're at the store, don't go down the aisle with all the chips. If you notice, all the junk food is in one aisle. Don't go down it. Well, it's in a lot of aisles in grocery stores, but don't go down the aisles where you don't need the stuff. That way you're not tempted to even put it in the cart. And it's same goes for scrolling. Put your phone in a drawer. Get one of those little lock boxes. Delete apps. Like the only social media apps I have on my phone now are the ones that are necessary for doing Seeking Satsang. I even took off YouTube Studio from my phone because I found myself checking it too often for comments, and it was not focusing on the work. I was focusing more on responding to comments. That's why I prefer this dedicated time through a live stream in order to answer questions than constantly responding to comments that come in almost as soon as they come in. So I had to, even now, still practice putting these barriers in between, me, quote unquote, and satisfying ego whims. And so hopefully that helps. But yeah, if you need help with mindfulness and meditation, please say so. And we can discuss about me making videos on guided meditations or guided mindfulness. If there's a need for it, I'll do my best. Kay made it. Have you encountered being with siddhis along your journey? So experiencing siddhis. I have, and just like with the astral entities or what have you, I try not to cling to them. The one that's most consistent is, everyone knows about clairaudience or clairvoyance. It's you're able to see things that aren't there, you're able to feel things out there. There's one where it's clair smelling. I forget what it's called, but that one is the one that's most consistent. And I can smell, energy. I can smell, you can't even describe it. It's not of this world, but it's a energetic plasmic essence. And I can smell based on the inherent quality of it. So if it's a very high quality energy, like a angel, archangel, God, even if I pray intensely, become very present, I will be able to smell a very, very strong energy scent that is very high quality. If I'm being visited, you could say, by a negatively polarized entity, that is trying to disrupt my practice or disrupt something, then I can smell it, and it will smell very like putrid, sometimes like garbage, sometimes like rotting flesh, or just like sort of like damp, musty mold, basements, cigarette smoke, stale cigarette smoke, all these sort of negative sense, olfactory sense things, and they're associative to their quality of whatever is visiting me or contacting me or around me, etc. And I'm very hesitant to say it in sort of like a definitive way, because it may be my consciousness relates these smells to these energetic presences, so it's sort of like a rendering of the senses, the smells, in order to communicate to me what it means, the essence. So I'm understanding the essence of what's happening through the sense of smell because of its correlation, and which is a personal thing. So it's like everybody's journey is very subjective, and that's one of the siddhis or powers, which are really all of these siddhis. They, it's on a scale from very mild power to very intense power, like materializing food and stuff like that. They're just things that cannot be explained through the rational mind or through Newtonian physics or anything like that. So if I told somebody I can smell ghosts, they're going to laugh at me. But I talk to you guys about it, and you're like, oh, I understand that that's a siddhi. That's something that comes with continued practice. And, it's neat. It's cool. There's other ones. I've had many visions. I've been able to see like full eye-open visions. I've been able to hear things speak to me, most often positive. So it's not like, demons are whispering in my ear, because the more you raise your consciousness, your vibration, your intention for unconditional love and presence, it's very difficult for these energies to sustain their presence around you. So, and it's very interesting. Like I said earlier, I'm reading a bit of the Bible, the New Testament specifically. I focus mostly on Jesus' teachings. And he talks about like being like demons and stuff like that. Often they sort of possess people, and I've learned that they don't actually I don't feel like they possess in a way that takes you over completely. You always have a choice. They just make the choice very, very difficult. So an addiction is sort of like there are other forces that are impressing upon the person a impulse to engage in the addiction, and it's very difficult for them to break the cycle because they're constantly being bombarded by these impressions. Now, I don't want to get too esoteric. I try and stay practical, but if you guys are interested, I can talk more about it. But you can sense those entities, and you can disengage from them. And it's sort of like, Dr. Hawkins once said in a lecture, someone asked him, like, I was being attacked by a demon. What do I do? And how did it show up? And then Dr. Hawkins said, did you play with demons? And he's like, And then he like did his little muscle testing thing he does. And he's like, yeah, you played with demons. Don't play with demons. You know why? Because they're demons. Don't play around with them. So if you don't want them around you, don't mess with them. And that was really funny, because it's true. Just don't engage in things that are calling upon and inviting in these influencers or these like entities, because you really don't want them around. Like, if you had a choice, would you rather an archangel beside you or like this like demon guy who's just trying to get you to be angry, So I feel like I got off track there. Hopefully it was entertaining or interesting. Let's see. Where have I been? Left off. Oh yeah, cities. Okay. Help my anxiety tremendously. I don't think I'd ever go back. Thank you, host. Sorry, but I don't know your name. Should I tell you guys my name? This body, mind, ego, persona name, or should it be a mystery? You guys let me know. You can just email me, and I usually sign off with my name, so it's I can tell you. But I really want to see who wants to know. Nick's mindful tips, thank you. I fell for one of those super hidden things. I bought a PDF that then signs saying that PDF stuff was witchcraft, distraction, etc. showed up. A super prayer, basically. Yeah. It's okay. A lot of people kind of go down rabbit holes. They get distracted. It's okay. It's just part of the journey, you know. If you are on the spiritual journey, think quitting. Yes. Rex saying, oh man, doom scrolling sucks so bad. It does. Sometimes I had to delete all the apps because even at this stage, like sometimes you just pick up the phone. You don't even know why you picked up the phone. And then you realize 5 minutes into scrolling through something, even if it's just like YouTube, and I'm getting dopamine from watching Dr. Hawkins lectures. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I'll just put them down and I'll just be present. You know, I'll listen to A Course in Miracles. I'll meditate and things like that. I'll look for something to engage in that is actually more fulfilling. Hi there. I recently discovered your channel. This is from Miguel. Discovered your channel and it has brought me tremendous insight about myself and the world around me. You helped me make the first steps towards being more mindful. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much, Miguel. I really appreciate you sharing your experience with the channel and with the content that I'm putting out there. It warms my heart. It does. It actually makes me feel very joyous inside. And I really appreciate you sharing. Thank you for being here. Thank you, host. That would be great. Okay, so I guess the mindfulness and meditation videos, yeah. Rec, did any of you girls, experience a change in dreams since becoming more present? I certainly did. I noticed that the more present you become, the more available you are to dreams, because you're not distracted by stress and worldly endeavor in order to not remember your dreams. K-Vet. Nicotine withdrawal does have physical effects on the body. It's not really that easy to let go. Maybe it would be for some guru. But then again, they don't use addictive substances. Well, everybody was addicted at some point, if they've transcended it or not, to the mind, to the thinking mind. So everyone is working on letting go of one addiction at the very least, which is the addiction to the mind, to the thinkingness, to the ego's chatter. And that's what I work on daily. I have dropped the addiction to caffeine before. And although I do understand that quitting smoking, quitting alcohol, quitting other drugs is very difficult physically, the fundamentals of the practice remain the same. So if you are feeling withdrawal symptoms from nicotine, like headaches, irritability, you would become present. You would observe the headaches, the irritability, and surrender it as much as possible. It was really interesting. This is something I learned recently through Dr. Hawkins again, through his lectures. And I think I agree that when you engage in substances and drugs of whatever kind, you're creating basically like a karmic debt where you're going to pay for it later. And paying for it later arises as the difficulty to quit. You know, it arises as the bodily symptoms of, you know, the effects of trying to drop the addiction. So it's best not to touch drugs in the first place, but if you are, and you are currently into these substances that are addictive, drugs in general really, you're setting up an inertia, a karma that you're going to have to work through afterwards. You know, you get the short-term gain of like, oh, I feel relaxed thanks to this nicotine, I'm not stressed, but you're creating a debt energetically to that stress, and you'll experience it later as headaches, as irritability, as increased stress, etc., which I think is a really, you know, cute way of looking at it. It's really interesting. If you're a regular guy, it's not really easy or intuitive to just surrender or let go of an addiction. In fact, I've spent 2.5 years in rehab. Yeah, I'm not saying it's intuitive to a regular, quote unquote, regular guy. I think that you are going to face, like I said, you know, and you're saying these physical effects, but the fundamentals always remain the same, you know. Nick is saying, I'm not saying to let go of the addiction itself, but rather to let go of control. That's a good way of putting it too. It doesn't mean not to quit, but to surrender to your current circumstances instead of resisting them. So that's true. You know, constantly be present, constantly surrendering. So if you're experiencing withdrawal, you're just accepting that the withdrawal is happening. If you're experiencing a craving, you're accepting that craving is happening and you're letting it go. If you act on the craving, how are you going to feel? You'll get a short-term release, a short-term relief, a short-term bump in dopamine or whatever you're gaining from that substance. But then afterwards, you're like, oh man, I fell off the horse and now I got to start over. I created another karmic debt for myself that I need to work through. And that's not to say you should never slip up, but it's good to be mindful that like you're not helping yourself, you know, by not being disciplined. And that's just what it comes down to. I mean, there's no easy way to get off a drug. Otherwise, no one would be addicted to anything, and nobody would be on drugs in that way, addicted to them. And so, you know, I have sympathy, I have empathy, I have compassion for people who are addicted to drugs because they're suffering, you know. But if you're asking for, like, how do I get off a drug, it remains the same. I consider a lot of my dreams to be some sort of guidance, however, not specifically. I interpreted them more as where I was at spiritually, especially to help me confirm where I was. Yeah, I think Nick's assessment of dreams, especially spiritually inclined dreams, is pretty good. It's good to recognize that everything you're experiencing is subjective. So your dreams are like sort of a mirror. You know, the world is a mirror. Your dreams are a mirror. You're experiencing these things because they are a message, but they're a message about you, for you, and by you. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. I got caught up to the latest discussion and questions. If there's anything more, unless maybe it's time to call it, I'm not sure. I really appreciate everyone who's here, who's tuned in, even for a few minutes. Thank you so much. It's, I mean, this is the reason, right? This is the point. So that we can gather, we can discuss, and we can align more holistically with our work through, you know, the satsang, the gathering, the communication, the discussion, the questions. It keeps us focused because we're creating an environment that supports the work. And I really appreciate everybody. I really love seeing these little emotes pop up on the chat, like the hundreds and little hearts and stuff. Whoever's tapping that, thank you. It's funny. I feel like just opening up one of these books and seeing what pops up. Would you guys prefer the Dhammapada, the Bhagavad Gita, or A Course in Miracles? Someday I'll have the Bible too. That'll be cool. Even the Quran. Why not? All these different texts. I'm leaning towards the Bhagavad Gita. Going once. Going twice. Oh, I don't have the Quran right now. I just thought it'd be cool to have every book, or the main books like the Bible, the Quran, and just open them occasionally. I'm going to go for the Bhagavad Gita then. Let's see what we get. All right, we're in chapter 1. I'll start at the top to give context and then read what I saw. This is chapter 1, verse 26, I'm assuming. Yeah. And Arjuna, standing between the two armies, saw fathers and grandfathers, teachers, uncles and brothers, sons and grandsons, in-laws and friends. Seeing his kinsmen established in opposition, Arjuna was overcome by sorrow. Despairing, he spoke these words. O Krishna, I see my own relations here, anxious to fight, and my limbs grow weak. My mouth is dry, my body shakes, and my hair is standing on end. My skin burns, and the bow Gandiva has slipped from my hand. I am unable to stand. My mind seems to be whirling. These signs bode evil for us. I do not see that any good can come from killing our relations in battle. O Krishna, I have no desire for victory, or for a kingdom of pleasures, or for a kingdom or pleasures. Of what use is a kingdom or pleasure, or even life, if those for whose sake we desire these things, teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, uncles, in-laws, grandsons, and others with family ties, are engaging in this battle, renouncing their wealth and their lives? Even if they were to kill me, I would not want to kill them, not even to become ruler of the 3 worlds. How much less for the earth alone? O Krishna, what satisfaction could we find in killing Dhritarashtra's sons? We would become sinners by slaying these men, even though they are evil. The sons of Dhritarashtra are related to us. Therefore, we should not kill them. How can we gain happiness by killing members of our own family? Of course, this is the beginning. And I think maybe I can keep reading, but I feel like the part that my eyes lighted upon initially was the part where he's saying, this is how awful he feels that he's having to go against his own kinsman, and that he wouldn't even desire to be alive if he had to kill somebody else. And I think that there's like a message in there in and of itself, because Arjuna doesn't want to engage in battle, because he recognizes that even if he were to win, so even if the ego were to win, like he gets to win, he gets to hurt somebody, he recognizes that's his family, that's his kinsmen on the other side. Even if they're distant cousins or distant relatives, he still would rather nobody fight. And I'm not sure if anybody knows about the Bhagavad Gita, but it takes place thematically on a battlefield. It's part of a greater epic. And basically Krishna is trying to counsel Arjuna. And this is a really interesting part of the Bhagavad Gita, because it is about killing, it's about war. And it's often interpreted in many different ways. And if you interpret it literally, it sounds like Krishna is telling Arjuna, later after this portion, he's basically saying, Arjuna, arise, do not let go of your dignity and your honor. This is the work. This is what you must do. Right now you're being presented with this battle. So you just participate in the battle. And people think that this is condoning war and battle and killing, murder, things like this. But what I think it means is that whatever you're presented with in life, strive to be present and surrender your positionalities about it and just do the Dharma, as Krishna would say. I think if you have a choice, you're not going to engage in battle, but Krishna also gives Arjuna a vision at some point that it's all him, it's all God, that they all walk into his open mouth, giant open mouth, and he's chewing down on them, and that's how they're dying, and that no one is actually dying. So it's a very interesting part of the Bhagavad Gita. It's interesting that I opened to that. But maybe this is it. Doesn't seem like there's any more questions. I think that I would say that if you have a choice, of course, don't engage in anger and hatred and violence and attack. But say, you're lost in the wilderness and you need to like skin a rabbit in order to live. Like these situations where it's either engage or accept perish, like accept demise of the physical form. And you would just be present and accept that I need to actually kill something in order to live. And that is also part of the surrender, that you're not having a positionality or an opinion about everything you're doing all the time. You're accepting that what is. People die. They relinquish the physical form. And it's all happening because of God. Doing the Dhammapada, I never read that one. Yeah, sure. Here it is. I really like Eknath Iswaran. His translations and versions or whatever are very straightforward. He has a good foreword, a good introduction, and he doesn't interject a bunch of like how you should interpret the scriptures or the teachings or whatever. It's just there. I really appreciate that. So I recommend Eknath Iswaran, the Dhammapada. Let's see. I gotta take out my bookmark so it doesn't open up to my bookmark. All right. Where are we? Chapter 26. I don't know if that's chapter 26 of... I don't think that's of the actual Dhammapada. It's just of the book. But let's see. Okay. 26, the Brahman. So it is chapter 26 of the Dhammapada. And it's called the Brahman, at least in his translation. And it is verse 387. We'll start at 386 to give context, because usually that helps. Who is the true Brahman? That one I call a Brahman who has trained the mind to be still and reach the supreme goal of life. And this is what we found when we opened the book. 387. The sun shines in the day, the moon shines in the night. The warrior shines in battle. Very interesting. We were just talking about battle from the Bhagavad Gita. The Brahman in meditation. But day and night, the Buddha shines in radiance of love for all. Wow, that's very pertinent. The warrior shines in battle. Again, it's the same theme. The sun shines in the day, the moon shines in the night. They are doing their work. They are doing their purpose. The sun shines in the day, the moon shines in the night. The warrior shines in battle. As Arjuna is in battle as the leader and prince, or meant to be the prince, he is meant to shine in battle as a warrior, because that's his dharma at the time. That's his work. And then it's saying, The Brahman in meditation. So the holy man shines in meditation. That's his work. But day and night, the Buddha shines in radiance of love for all. So the Buddha and the Buddha mind, those who have attained awakening, enlightenment, their purpose, their work, their beingness shines in radiance of love for all. We'll read the next couple just to see what's next. That one I call a Brahmin who has shed all evil. I call that one a recluse whose mind is serene, a wanderer whose heart is pure. That one I call a Brahmin who is never angry, never causes harm to others, even when harmed by them. That one I call a Brahmin who clings not to pleasure. Do not cause sorrow to others, no more sorrow will come to you. That one I call a Brahmin who does not hurt others with unkind acts, words, or thoughts. Both body and mind obey him. That one I call a Brahmin who walks the footsteps of the Buddha. Light your torch from the fire of his sacrifice. It is not matted hair nor birth that makes a Brahmin, but truth and the love for all of life with which one's heart is full. What use is matted hair? What use is deerskin on which to sit for meditation if your mind still seethes with lust? Saffron robe and outward show do not make a Brahmin, but training of the mind and senses through practice of meditation. Neither riches nor high caste makes a Brahmin. Free yourself from your selfish desires and you will become a Brahmin. Pretty incredible. I love how every time I read any form of teachings from these like high attained beings, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, they're always throwing out this whole concept of caste, role, system, who you're told you are. If you wear these clothes or do this thing or say this thing or read this scripture, then you're automatically some sort of holy or, walking the path, sort of person. They always throw it away. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what caste you're born in. It doesn't matter what role you've been given. What matters is what you're doing. If you're actually doing the work, if you're actually living the Dhamma, if you're actually following the teachings Jesus gave, for example, on the Sermon on the Mount, you do these things, you follow the commandments, you follow the Dhamma, you do the work. That's what makes you a holy person, a spiritual person. That's what makes you someone who's actually walking the path. And this aligns with my video that I made on what is spirituality, and really it's doing the work. It's staying focused on the fundamentals, not getting distracted. And I hope you enjoyed that reading, both readings. And why not, I'll do A Course in Miracles too and see what comes up. You know how thick this is. It's A Course in Miracles. Very different type of book, because it's written in like sort of a poetic way, like a biblical way. So this is what I landed on. Chapter 24, The Goal of Specialness. I guess it's part 6. I'm not sure how to read these. That's weird. It's part 6, paragraph 6. And 24 makes 6. Dun dun dun. What does that mean? It is his sinlessness that eyes that see can look upon. It is his loveliness they see in everything. And it is he they look for everywhere, and find no sight, nor place, nor time where he is not. Within your brother's holiness, the perfect frame for your salvation and the world's, is set the shining memory of him in whom your brother lives, and you along with him. Let not your eyes be blinded by the veil of specialness that hides the face of Christ from him, and you as well. And let the fear of God no longer hold the vision you are meant to see from him. Your brother's body shows not Christ to you. He is set forth within his holiness. Choose then his body or his holiness as what you want to see, and which you choose is yours to look upon. Yet will you choose in countless situations and through time that seems to have no end, until the truth be your decision. For eternity is not regained by still one more denial of Christ in him. And where is your salvation if he is but a body? Where is your peace but in his holiness? And where is God himself but in the part of him he set forever in your brother's holiness, that you might see the truth about yourself, set forth at last in terms you recognized and understood. Your brother's holiness is sacrament and benediction unto you. His errors cannot withhold God's blessing from himself nor you who see him truly. His mistakes can cause delay, which it is given you to take from him, that both may end a journey that has never begun and needs no end. What never was is not a part of you, yet you will think it is, until you realize that it is not a part of him who stands beside you. He is the mirror of yourself, wherein you see the judgment you have laid on both of you. The Christ in you beholds his holiness. Your specialness looks on his body and beholds him not. I wonder if you guys understand what's being said here. And it's in line with the holy relationship video that I talk about, where the goal of a relationship, the goal of any relationship, of any interaction with another person, another entity, an animal even, is to recognize Christ there, then and there, in that person, specifically a partner, a person you're interacting with. And this is only done through forgiveness, through letting go of ego, persona, of projection, and seeing beneath the body, as is written here, beneath the facade, what in essence is truth, which is in everybody is the element of Christ. In everybody is God. In everybody is a recognition of the Holy Spirit. So you get to choose what you want to see. You either choose the body and you choose the ego's perceptions, or you let them go and you choose to see God everywhere. You choose to see Christ everywhere. You choose to see Buddha everywhere, the Buddha mind. You choose to see Krishna everywhere. It's just like in the vision Krishna gave to Arjuna. It's all him. These kinsmen, his distant cousins, all these people dying in war, they're dying in the mouth of God. It's just happening. It's all unfolding as it is. And you can recognize the truth that is beneath all things, the truth and divinity behind somebody's facade, and rejoice that is truth, that is reality. And all of your projections will pass away, will fall away. So you can be glad. Is there one of these texts that you guys resonated with most? The Bhagavad Gita, the Dhammapada, or A Course in Miracles as I read it? Anything jump out? Anything feel like it resonated? Did you like all of them? Well, Rectus said at some point earlier that not aware if there's a message to be coded in their dreams. Nick's saying, recommend journaling. Yeah, journaling will help. And I wouldn't be, try not to overthink your dreams. You, through presence, through letting go, you're able to um, develop your intuitive sense, which means becoming more comfortable with accepting your intuition as a valid paradigm of perception. And then you won't be worried about whether or not there's a message. You'll just understand intuitively what the message is. So through journaling, you might notice if you're journaling them down and something comes to you that this is what this means, go with that and allow your intuition to grow. All right, I think that it's probably time to wrap up the live stream. Unless anybody has any questions or concerns, any thoughts they want to share. But it's been a really, really wonderful live stream. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you for the respectful questions and presence that you bring. Without you, this would not be possible. It's very wonderful, gratifying, and fulfilling to have a community that gathers together in order to discuss these things. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And I will see you the next time I see you. Oh, another question. All right, let's see. Nick is asking, another question for you I have is, for a long time I've had what I call intuitive deja vu. It's like I get a gut feeling when I get deja vu. And I've spent a long time trying to figure it out. Can you relate? Intuitive deja vu. It's like I get a good feeling. I can explain my experience, and maybe this will help. This will give greater context, or maybe it's similar, because it's hard to gain like a full understanding from just like a small few sentences. When I experienced deja vu, as I've gone along the path, it has increased in length and clarity. So it's like, you have a deja vu here and there when you're just like a quote unquote normal person about your life, and you go, deja vu. Now though, when deja vu happens, it's like extended. It's almost like the entire environment, every word I'm saying, the words I'm about to say, the words I'm about to hear, what someone is about to do, what I'm about to do. Sometimes even I recognize that I did something different last time. And this has happened much more frequently within the holy relationship I have with my wife. Deja vu happens for both of us, and often at the exact same time, sometimes not, but when it does happen, it's very, very visceral. And I've been able to say, last time that this happened, I actually got upset. And this time, I'm not even close to upset. I recognize through this deja vu that this was like a different path and the trajectory of like this life. And it gets really intense sometimes, and it really breaks your perception of reality from the ego's perspective. So maybe what you're calling that intuitive aspect of deja vu is a similar thing. I guess what you're saying is you don't necessarily have like a strong visual deja vu, but it's more like a sixth sense deja vu. Is that what you're trying to say? Which in that case I've also experienced. Yes, I've also experienced that. Yeah, sometimes you're saying, sometimes I feel like I recognize there's claircognizant, yes, like there's a difference, but it's not so clear. Yeah, sometimes I even get an aspect of vision to it, like in the mind's eye or third eye, I will actually see the scenario, it would have been different. And sometimes it's more of an impression, sometimes I actually remember a different feeling. I remember frustration, or I remember annoyance, or I remember sadness, or I remember, sometimes it's even like, oh my gosh, last time this happened, I was playing video games, and now I'm sitting on the bed meditating, or like I'm sitting listening to a lecture, or I'm sitting listening to some book, a spiritual book. And the deja-vu isn't telling me that like you used to be not spiritual at all. It's like you're getting better as this happens over and over. And I have this very strong hunch that we actually do relive lives very, very similarly over and over until we learn, like get all of the learning out of it. And it's also been said, and I don't know if anybody's heard of the Seth books, the Seth Speaks books, but they said the same thing, that you will relive lives over and over again if you had not learned specific lessons that you set out with the intention to learn. I have much more I could say about it, but it's too much for chat. I would like to try to get in touch for one-on-one. Of course, we can get in touch for one-on-one. I don't know if you're in the Discord server, you can send me a message request, or you can also send me an email, and we can spend some time chatting if you'd like. And yeah, I've also had a hunch about reliving lives. I'm pretty sure, like I'm near certain we relive lives. I don't know why we wouldn't. Time is an illusion, so is space, and everything is sort of like a dynamic manifestation or rendering of reality at any moment. And every given moment is like a rendering of your life, and you're experiencing it for the sake of learning, for the sake of choosing love rather than fear or hatred, etc. And if you haven't learned, if you didn't take those paths and the forks of those roads that you needed to, then why not regenerate the same life over and try again? Everything is happening within the mind, so there's no limitation, really. Rect said, I appreciate you all. Thanks for the session. Of course, thank you so much, Rect. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you as well. And if there are no more questions, then I'll give it just 2 minutes for the delay, and I'll be ending the live stream. I hope you and everyone has a wonderful evening. You as well, Nick. Thank you so much for coming, for being here. Isono, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate everybody, as I said. It's just wonderful. It's wonderful. It's great. Thank you so much. I don't even need to be like professional about it. I love you guys. Thank you so much. It's so great that we're all here. It's wonderful to be able to answer questions just because I have the ability, I have the experience or the wisdom that I can share. We're all trying to make progress on the path. So I'm very happy to help. When will the next stream happen? I will do another stream next Sunday at 2 o'clock, the same time, EST. And if there's one in the middle because I feel compelled or inspired, then I'll put an announcement out this time on both YouTube and Discord. So definitely expect one on Sunday unless, unforeseen circumstances. And then maybe not one in the middle of the week. Who knows? Because they are interesting and fun. So. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I will see you when I see you next. If there's any other comments or questions, feel free to reach out either in the Discord server or through email. I will take a moment to become present. Thank you all so much for being here. May you be blessed. May you experience real peace. May you experience real happiness. I send gratitude. I send love to you all. May you experience real peace. May you experience real happiness. Thank you.